Hey everyone, intuitive and astrologer Lisa Salvatore here to talk to you about the beginning of January up until the full moon in Cancer that takes place on January 6th. First off, it is January 1st that I'm recording this video. Happy New Year, Rabbit Rabbit. It is the first of the month. I don't know if you can see my sweatshirt, but it actually says Rabbit Rabbit. I'll actually link this shop below because it's a super comfy sweatshirt. And in case you didn't know, Rabbit Rabbit is a tradition that is all across several different cultures, where the first of every month you wake up and you say Rabbit Rabbit. And I've adopted that tradition from many, many years ago, many, many moons ago. And so it was only fitting that I get this sweatshirt. So Rabbit Rabbit, it is said to bring in peace and abundance and blessings. And that's why I say it. May we all have a wonderful 2023. Please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and also sign up for my newsletter because I do put out detailed weekly energy reports that are only available to my newsletter subscribers. And also you'll be notified when my 2023 forecast goes live. It's almost there. It is jam-packed with some really great info. And I know it's already January, but don't worry, you're not gonna miss out on much by the time it comes out. So again, sign up for my newsletter so that you can be notified when the forecast goes live. Okay, so like I said, today is January 1st, and the month kicks off with a very tight alignment of Venus, the planet of love and abundance and pleasure and beauty and also finances. And Venus is in a very tight alignment with Pluto, the planet of power and transformation and renewal. And so these two together bring in a certain type of energy of heat and intensity, passion, which goes both ways. We're just coming off the holidays. This is a full moon week. The full moon peaks on January 6th, and we'll get to that in a moment. And it's an emotional full moon in the sign of Cancer because Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is very personal. So all of that to say that we kick off the month of January with a lot of loving energy, but it's also very powerful energy. And it can definitely feel contentious because we have Mercury currently retrograde, which is mucking up communication. And we also still have Mars retrograde until January the 12th. And that is still slowing us down and also making us a little hot under the collar. So all of that to say that we could be filled with really loving, wonderful vibes, and it can flip in an instant and just turn into anger or animosity or, rehashing the past, Mercury retrograde, bringing up old wounds, Mars retrograde. There's just a lot going on. And again, we do have a full moon in Cancer on January 6th, which is super duper sensitive and definitely brings things up that have to do with the past. And again, this can go both ways, for better or for worse. Some of us may experience a wonderful release around this time, and some of us might be very angry. It can feel extremely personal, or you can kind of skate through it and not really notice it. But chances are you will feel it. Okay, so we start January off with the Venus-Pluto conjunction, which is going to carry us all the way up until the full moon. And then tomorrow, January 2nd, Venus will enter the sign of Aquarius, where she will remain until about 3 or 4 weeks. And again, Venus represents love, beauty, she represents finances, she represents connection, she represents what we find pleasing and displeasing, and she's in the sign of Aquarius. Now, it's important to mention that Venus is just leaving Capricorn and moving into Aquarius, and both Capricorn and Aquarius are signs that are ruled by Saturn. And Saturn is a planet that is more serious. It wants us to have the bottom line. It wants us to do things that make sense. So yeah, of course, love often doesn't make sense. Connection often doesn't make sense. It just is what it is. But with Venus in Aquarius, it's like, okay, how can I serve humanity? That's Aquarius. How can I provide for the greater good? What is practical? What makes sense? There's a little bit of a logical detachment while Venus is in Aquarius, and that could really bode well for our relationships because we're able to see things from a different vantage point, maybe a little bit less emotional while Venus is in Aquarius. But it is still Venus. We are still dealing with a lot of other things. So just know that while Venus is in Aquarius, the focus can shift to how am I serving? Whether that's another relationship in your life or whether that's for the greater good or for humanity. Maybe this is a time where you want to start to do some charity work. Beginning of the year, clean out your closet, donate clothes, maybe donate food. That's a really great way to utilize the Venus and Aquarius energy. And you'll feel good about yourself, which is also the domain of Venus, self-worth and self-value. And self-love, because that's the first piece, right? Okay, so that's really what we've got going on as we build up to the very powerful first full moon of 2023 on January the 6th, and I'm gonna pull up the chart in a moment. But just note that full moons in and of themselves are the point of the lunar cycle where everything comes up. It's like a culmination of the last 29 days when the new moon occurred. So we've gone through a whole cycle and there's been a buildup of energy, and now this is the point where it comes to a release, it comes to a head, it comes to a boiling point. Now again, That doesn't always necessarily mean that it's good. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative. It just means that it is what it is, and each lunar cycle is going to feel different, and each one might feel different for you. Oh no, it will feel different for you. Some will feel more personal, like I said. Others, you may not really notice. Now, if you are a cardinal sign, which is Cancer, Capricorn especially, Cancer and Capricorn especially, Libra or Aries, you're definitely going to be feeling the effects of this full moon likely the strongest, because this is a Cancer full moon and the sun is in Capricorn. And we have a full moon when the sun and the moon oppose each other in the sky. So that's Cancer, Capricorn, and that's the axis that this full moon takes place on. The oppositional energies that we have to work to integrate. Also, if you have a water moon, which is Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, you are going to be feeling very heightened emotion likely around this full moon, because again, it's a full moon in Cancer, it's a water moon. Now the moon rules Cancer. So the moon is in her domicile in the sign of Cancer. She's very comfortable here. And that's a key word for the sign of Cancer, comfort. There's something about Cancer. It's a very maternal sign, regardless of gender. There's something very nurturing about Cancer energy. And of course, Cancer can also be crabby, right? Cancer's ruled by the moon, so Cancer's moody. Highs and lows, ups and downs, and that will likely be the energy surrounding this full moon. I mean, I know for me, I have a water moon, and I will tell you that the last week I have been like super duper emotional. I'm always very emotional, like I'm a very sensitive person, but my emotions are not halfway. I either am really passionate about something and love it, or I'm really not passionate about it and don't care. Like, that's just kind of how I operate. But with Mars retrograde, right, we're all a little more hot under the collar, and we've got this full moon in Cancer. It just feels really, really emotional. And you could feel provoked by something small or by something that's been building. Because remember, again, full moons bring everything up. Full moons pull the focus on what we want to release and what's really been bothering us underneath the surface. That's going to come up, especially under a full moon in Cancer. So if you're feeling extra agitated, extra sappy, extra emotional, remember that there's a lot of aspects surrounding this full moon that will definitely be adding to these energies. So when we're dealing with Cancer and Capricorn, remember the moon's in Cancer and the sun is in Capricorn, that's our full moon. When we're dealing with this energy, we're dealing with our personal life, which is Cancer, and our professional life, which is Capricorn. Our Cancer rules over the most internal spaces in our lives. It's very private, it's what's dear to us. It's what makes us feel safe and secure. It also talks about our ancestry, our lineage, our roots, our childhood. Cancer is the mother. Cancer is the maternal energies. Where Capricorn, completely in the opposite side, is the paternal energies. Capricorn is all about structure. Capricorn can represent the father figures, the authority figures. Capricorn is also our professional face, our professional world. These are two different energies, and because it's a full moon, we're harmonizing these two, and we could maybe come up with some situations that it's like the seesaw energy here with the Cancer and the Capricorn, the personal and the professional. And we could feel a little friction, but it's a really great time for reflection and integration. And since this is the first full moon of the year, I would highly recommend that you do some kind of ritual, which can be as simple as, light a candle, get out your journal or a piece of paper, and really get in that space. Maybe meditate. I have a free meditation right on my website. You just, when you sign up for the newsletter, it's a download that you get, or just any meditation will do. But just get yourself in that space of receiving and reflection and contemplation. Maybe light a candle, set the mood, put on some light music, whatever you want to do. You can make it as simple or as elaborate as you wish. If you work with stones, feel free to use those as well. I'm a huge fan of citrine because it's all about abundance, and rose quartz, which is all about unconditional love for self and for others. Again, just suggestions. And sit there and think about it and jot down what it is that you would like to release in 2023. What behaviors, what patterns, what relationships, what is not serving your soul that you know you need to let go of for your soul's evolution? That's what you want to write down. Be honest with yourself. And remember, when you're releasing, you always want to add the word lovingly. We want to have positive intent when we do release work, because we never want to hurt anybody else. We also want to try to avoid hurting ourselves, of course. And of course, this is not always avoidable, but hey, manifestation works. It's real. It's legit. So just be very mindful of what you're putting out into the universe at all times. And then what I like to do for the full moon is I like to burn that paper. I like to light it on fire and set it out into the universe, because I mean business when I do my release rituals. And by the way, I don't always work with every single full moon, but this one I would work with because it is very emotional. It's going to carry a lot of weight, and there will be a lot highlighted for you. And there's likely to be potentially a lot of reveals of information because Mercury is retrograde opposite this full moon. Mercury is the messenger. A lot of these messages might be coming up through the dream space, but they're going to be coming up. You're going to be getting information, more than likely, that you might or might not like, right? So again, self-care, take care of yourself. If you're having some kind of boundary issues with family, especially because Cancer rules over family, you're going to want to really lean into that and see what's coming up for you there. Anything having to do with parents, whether they're here or gone, that could really be amplified around this full moon. So give yourself the space, give yourself the grace and the compassion to grieve where you need to. Whether you're grieving a relationship that you never had or a relationship that you had, that you're having a difficult time dealing with the loss of, whatever that is for you, because it's personal, and Cancer is a very personal sign. So just be in it and feel whatever comes up with you so that you can heal through it. There's a very strong healing element to this full moon as well. And also because Cancer is a cardinal sign and we're at the beginning of the year, it's a very strong take charge energy. Like, what do I want to do? I need to move forward. But first, what do I need to release to get me there? Very important, honest questions to ask yourself under this full moon. Okay, let's get to the chart. All right, so here we have our Cancer full moon. Takes place January 6th, 2023. I can't believe I'm saying 2023 at 6:08 p.m. Eastern time, okay? And we've got the sun here at 16 degrees and 21 minutes of Capricorn. And then we see the moon here directly opposite at 16 degrees, 21 minutes of Cancer. And we see right here Mercury, very much retrograde at this point, conjunct the sun and opposite the moon. So we know Mercury is mucking things up a little bit, messing with our emotions, messing with our minds, making us just feel, did I hear that correctly? Did this person really say that? What's the bottom line here? Remember, Mercury is in Capricorn. So, there is more of a pragmatic approach when Mercury is in Capricorn, but Mercury is not strong right now because he's retrograde. So let's just remember, mindfulness goes a very long way. Mercury rules the mind, okay? Very emotional right now, so just take an extra moment before you speak, an extra moment before you send that email. Triple check your words, triple check your recipients. Mars is also getting ready to station direct around this full moon. We see Mars right here at 8 degrees and 21 minutes of Gemini, and Mars is going to station direct on January 12th. Now, here's the thing. When planets are getting ready to station one direction or the other, their powers are amplified, and everything that planet represents is amplified. And we know Mars is action, it's drive, it's force, it's energy. It's also aggression and irritation. It also can push us forward. So there's a lot of good to Mars because, again, it's our drive. But in Gemini, remember, Gemini is all about mental activity. Gemini is all about our words, and our mouths can be weapons. Let's just be real. And Mercury's retrograde, which is adding fuel to that fire. And here's the other piece that's interesting. Mercury rules Gemini, okay? Mercury is the planet that rules over the sign of Gemini. And Mars is exalted in Capricorn, meaning Mars prefers to be in Capricorn as to Gemini. So this energy is very, it's mishmash. We know it's not right per se. It feels like we're walking through quicksand in some capacity. We can feel extremely, I want to just stress this again, extremely aggravated, irritated, frustrated. Channel your energy wisely. Physical activity is a great way to work through this. Our nervous systems might be fired up on all cylinders. Honor the emotions. Positively speaking, Mars is also in a very supportive aspect around this full moon to Venus over here in Aquarius. It's a trine aspect. So when we're dealing with a trine from Mars to Venus, that's the masculine energies and the feminine energies harmonizing. And that's for everybody because we both have masculine and feminine energies. So they're harmonizing really nicely, and this bodes well for relationships if we have things we need to talk about. But again, please remember that emotions are heightened and everyone is feeling it. So just really be thoughtful when communicating, because it could get heated quite quickly. Now, talking about the emotion and talking about the healing, both the sun and the moon are in a square to Chiron over here at 12 degrees of Aries. And this is actually a T-square, okay? This is a little bit of a contentious energy, but it's not so much contentious on the outside. Of course, collectively, it certainly can be, but I'm talking about personally. It's definitely more emotional. It's definitely felt more on the internal level. This is about where we feel inadequate or less than or not good enough. That might be poked at around this full moon. That might come up, but it's up to you. It's up to us to heal, to work with this energy to heal. You have to feel it to heal it, right? And you're likely going to feel something around this full moon. Remember, Cancer is very caring. Cancer is very nurturing. So ask yourself, how can I nurture this part of me that feels this way? Whatever this is, because for everyone it's going to be different. Now also, Chariklo, which I've talked about before, Chariklo, who is in mythology the counterpart to Chiron, supposedly Chiron's wife, who was also very big into divine healing, healing through divinity. She was able to help others with her own healing. She's conjunct Venus here. So that brings in a sweetness to the healing as well. And it just reiterates that when we go in it and we feel it and we deal with it, we have the power to heal it. We have the power to heal ourselves. That's what Chiron teaches us. The healing is in here. And you may even find at this time that you're coming up with more positive healing solutions for yourself physically, for yourself mentally, for yourself spiritually. And that's great. Again, this is a really big time of endings and beginnings. All of 2023, which we'll get into in the forecast, but it's a really big time of endings and beginnings. And think about it as, I mean, so true. When one door closes, several will fly open. But we're often so busy focusing on that closed door that we kind of lose the magic of the beginnings. So trust the magic of new beginnings. Okay, now I have to talk about something important. Collectively speaking, it's always good to be very aware of your surroundings, of course, but more so, especially the first half of January, because there is the potential for a lot of friction out there while driving, road rage, nasty words, he said, she said, your beliefs, my beliefs. I mean, look, we know that Pluto and Eris have been in an ongoing square, very tight ongoing square, and they still are. You see Eris over here at 23 degrees of Aries, and we've got Pluto at 27 Capricorn. So they're still in a square. But here's the kicker. Eris, okay, so in mythology, Eris is the sister to Mars, okay? She is the goddess of discord. And as mythology goes, Eris began the Trojan War because she was not invited to a wedding. But the real underbelly of Eris, the layer beneath what Eris is trying to teach and show us is this is where we all have our voice and this is where we all want to be heard. So Eris is really all about equality and justice. Now, why is this so significant around this full moon? Because Eris is actually going to station direct on January 11th. And again, when planets are getting ready to station one way or the other, we feel that energy that much more powerfully. It's that much more potent, that much more noticeable. And then on the 12th, the day after, Mars will station direct. So Eris and Mars, they're counterparts here, and they both want to fight for what's right. That could work very positively for you personally. But collectively speaking, just remember, it could be quite contentious out there, and especially when it comes to social media, because it's the words, it's Gemini. So we want to be mindful of that. Don't engage in unnecessary conflict because it isn't going to make you that much more powerful for saying those words. It's just going to likely incite some kind of really nasty arguments, potentially something even worse than that. So again, just be extra careful. Everybody's feeling this energy. Now Jupiter's over here at 1 degree of Aries, and he's opposite Ceres over here in Libra. And this is all about balance, okay? This is about balance of the body and balance of the mind, balance of taking care of the self, that's Aries, and also the balance of taking care of others, that's Libra. So there could be something here that's highlighted around the way you do this, around your own boundaries, around how you're taking care of yourself or not. How are you neglecting yourself? This is emotionally, physically, spiritually. Jupiter will always blow things up, so it will become more obvious to us. Okay. So, this is a very powerful emotional full moon. It's the first full moon of 2023. It's a great one to do a release ritual about what you really want to move forward from and about what you might need to release and leave behind you to get you there. Strong energy of setting intentions also, even though it's a full moon because it is the beginning of the year. But don't ignore the friction, don't ignore the irritations, don't ignore what comes up for you because it's trying to teach you something. That which hurts us is always trying to teach us a lesson. And remember, keep in mind that after January 22nd, because Mercury will actually station direct on January 18th, and then on January 22nd, Uranus will station direct, okay? So we could be watching some weather disturbances at the end of January into the first week or two of February, but we'll get to that at a later date. But Uranus is going to station on January 22nd, and once Uranus stations direct, guess what? Everything is direct, moving forward. All the planets are moving forward until May when Pluto stations. So that's going to be a really good chunk of time where things are going to start to pick up speed and we're going to feel like we have more traction. The energy of, I can breathe, it feels a little bit better. Now that's not to say it's going to be perfect. It's just giving you that space to say, okay, nothing is retrograde right now. I can plan, I can plot, I can move forward, I can work. Even if you're not consciously trying to do that, that is how it's going to go. Almost there. I hope you have a wonderful start to 2023, and I will be back with another video soon. Take really good care of yourself, and don't forget to do a full moon release. LisaSalvatore.com. Bye.